The idea of the unknown is a fear that has been locked within mankind from the very beginning of humanity. Man's first instincts and emotions formed his response to the environment in which he found himself. The unknown, being likewise the unpredictable, became for our primitive forefathers an omnipotent source of boons and calamities visited upon mankind. The ancient Greeks believed in gods and goddesses who they thought had control over the world and of people's lives, and they prayed to these gods for help and protection, because if the gods were unhappy, they would punish them. Obviously, as time went on, they started to seek explanations based on natural principles, rather than gods as primary causes, and became the first natural philosophers, or what we now call scientists. Science has since then helped us explain many of these previously unknown phenomena, but it has also shown us how much still remains unknown in the vastness of the universe. The novelty of Lovecraft's approach to the unknown lies in the exploration of new scientific areas in which the possibility of new unknown beings hiding among the stars arose. The vast, infinite cosmic depths produces an overwhelming emotion that paralyzes us. In the realm of horror literature and manga, the thematic echoes of H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horror find a chilling resonance in the works of Junji Ito. This essay delves into the ways in which Ito masterfully represents the unknown, drawing parallels to Lovecraft's legacy while infusing his unique style and cultural influences. At the core of Lovecraft's cosmic horror is the fear of the unknown. As stated in his essay Supernatural Horror in Literature, the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Ito too navigates this terrain, weaving tales that evoke terror through the mysterious and inexplicable. This is specifically the case for Remina. The plot starts in typical Lovecraftian fashion, since it is about a newly discovered planet named after the protagonist, and all of a sudden the characters in the story find out that the planet has a conscience and rapidly approaches Earth, devouring other stars and planets that stand in its way. In my opinion, it is quite fascinating to see and understand that as readers we are witnessing two mirroring effects. The first one being the one of Remina, the daughter of Professor Oguro, and the planet Remina, and how the number 16 is relevant for both, as in 16 years old and 16 light years. The other mirror is actually outside the story of Remina. It is actually about how Ito mirrors Lovecraft's cosmic entities that defy human understanding, inducing fear through their enigmatic nature. A fundamental aspect of Lovecraft's approach in his belief is his belief in the power of the reader's imagination to evoke fear. By providing only vague descriptions, Lovecraft allows readers to conjure their own terrifying visions. Ito, however, takes a visual route. His detailed and grotesque illustrations bring life to the unimaginable, guiding the reader's imagination in a more visual manner. Whether it's the unsettling contortions of monstrous figures or the eerie landscapes, Ito's art amplifies the horror, complementing Lovecraft's emphasis on imaginative fear. If I'm to provide an example from Remina, the one that comes up first is actually in the first chapter, in the scene where Professor Oguro is talking to another scientist about how Remina devoured Jupiter. They're all looking at the planet, and then on the next page we see how a tentacle emerged from the planet and devoured Mars. Ito's artistry in this scene plays a crucial role in intensifying the unsettling atmosphere. The juxtaposition of the conversation between scientists about the impending cosmic catastrophe creates a sense of dissonance. The visual transition from the scientists discussing the event to the emergence of what would be Remina's tongue is a very powerful narrative device. It subverts the expected progression of the story, catching the reader off guard and accentuating the unpredictability of the cosmic horror unfolding. The contortions of the monstrous tentacle as it reaches out from the planetary depths to consume Mars tap into the primal fear of the unknown. Ito's attention to detail in rendering the cosmic entity's form combined with the scale of the celestial event contributed to the overwhelming sense of dread. The imagery transcends the boundary of the familiar, evoking a visceral response that aligns with Lovecraft's notion of imaginative fear, the fear born from the unfathomable. I have mentioned before the idea that the unknown was perceived as both a source of boons and calamities, and as time went on, humankind started to explore the natural principles of the world, seeking to understand it through observation and reason rather than divine intervention. Junji Ito inherits and transforms Lovecraft's legacy of innovation, which lies in his exploration of new scientific frontiers, introducing the possibility of unknown beings lurking among stars. Ito's illustration bring Lovecraftian entities to life in which that resonate visually, enhancing the existential dread of encountering the unknown. Ito, like Lovecraft, understands that the fear of the unknown is not just a relic of ancient superstitions, but a persistent aspect of the human condition. The theme of death is a potent and multifaceted element in both Lovecraft's works and Junji Ito's Remina, carrying emotional weight and narrative significance. The death of Professor Ogro serves as a pivotal moment that resonated beyond a personal tragedy. The death of Remina's father, but a reach into the meta-narrative realm, evoking the concept of the death of the author as articulated by Roland Barthes. In Lovecraft's work, death is often intertwined with cosmic horror, reflecting the insignificance of humanity in the face of vast and indifferent cosmic forces. Characters frequently grapple with the terror of mortality and the unknown that lies beyond life. Lovecraft's exploration of death extends beyond the physical demise of individuals, delving into existential dread and the fragility of human existence. In Remina, the death of Professor Ogro takes on a similar thematic depth. It is not merely a familial tragedy for Remina, his daughter, but a narrative device that amplifies the cosmic horror. The devouring of planets and the subsequent demise of key characters highlight the transience of life in the face of cosmic forces beyond human control. The death of Professor Ogro becomes a symbol of the vulnerability of humanity against the backdrop of an unfathomable universe. The connection to Roland Barthes and the concept of the death of the author adds another layer of complexity to the narrative. Barthes argued that once a text is created, the author's intentions and identity should be separated from the interpretation of the work. In the context of Remina, the death of Professor Ogro can be seen as a metaphorical death of the author, as the narrative takes an unexpected and uncontrollable turn, much like the unpredictable cosmic events in the story. Look, I'm not saying that Professor Ogro is an authorial voice or a direct representation of Ito. Rather, the reference to the death of the author in the context of Remina is a conceptual exploration that draws on Roland Barthes' literary theory. If I am to repeat myself, the concept refers to the idea that once a text is created, the author's intentions and identity should be separated from the interpretation of the work. In Remina, the death of Professor Ogro symbolizes a narrative shift and an unexpected turn of events within the story. It serves as a metaphorical death of the voice or the narrative voice within the fictional universe of the manga. That literary device allows the narrative to take unexpected and uncontrollable paths, much like the cosmic events unfolding in the story. This thematic interplay invites readers to contemplate not only the mortality of individual characters, but also the mortality of narrative authority. As Remina grapples with personal loss and the cosmic horrors unleashed, the reader is confronted with a broader implication of mortality, both within the story and in the act of storytelling itself. Junji Ito, as the actual author, remains separate from the events in the narrative. The reference to the death of the author in this context is purely because of my intention to use it as a narrative technique employed to emphasize the unpredictability and uncontrollable nature of the cosmic horror depicted in the manga. It adds a layer of complexity, as I said, to the storytelling and invites readers to engage with the narrative in a way that goes beyond a straightforward authorial intent. So while Professor Ogurov's death is a significant plot point and a thematic element in Remina, it does not directly represent Junji Ito's personal voice or experiences. Instead, it serves as a tool within the narrative to explore cosmic horror, the vulnerability of human life, and the unpredictable nature of storytelling. What we fear the most, I suggest, is not death or the decadent side of our psyche or even physical anguish. As I said, Lovecraft in his essay Supernatural Horror in Literature stated that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. There is a hidden meaning to his saying. The unknown that Lovecraft was referring to was meaning. What we fear the most is the loss of meaning. To lose meaning can only mean to lose one's humanity, and this, in my opinion, is far more terrifying than death, because death, in a cultural context, always has meaning. Lovecraft's fantasies and dreams were dramatized in his work in order to show common sense, as our senses are blurred and incapable of comprehending the meaning behind anything, most of the time even forget the most banal of things, such as our last night's dream. And if that is the case of Lovecraft, surely Junji Ito is aware of the unknown as a metaphor for the perennial quest for meaning in the face of cosmic mysteries. While Ito may not explicitly echo Lovecraft's philosophical underpinnings, it is plausible to infer that Ito, as a storyteller, is aware of the metaphorical implications of the unknown and its connection to the quest for meaning. The thematic resonance between Lovecraft and Ito lies in the shared exploration of existential dread, the fragility of human understanding, and the anxiety surrounding the unknown. The unknown in Ito's narratives becomes a canvas upon which the human psyche grapples with the profound and the inexplicable, echoing the timeless themes woven into Lovecraftian horror. Whether it's the devouring planet in Remina or the grotesque and surreal entities in his other works, Ito leverages the unknown to evoke a sense of existential unease and philosophical contemplation.